financial cluster topic for today is accounting changes and correction of errors. Let's start with accounting changes. Both of these topics are under PAS 8. Our objective in financial reporting is to provide reliable and relevant information to the users of the financial statements. And in order to do this, from time to time, we have to undergo accounting changes. We have two types of accounting changes: change in accounting estimate and change in accounting policy. Doon mo tayo sa change in accounting estimate. Sir, ano ba mga examples of accounting estimates? Let's have 4 examples. We have estimation of doubtful accounts. So, alam natin class, every end of the year, entry natin to estimate doubtful accounts, debit, budget, expense, credit allowance for doubtful accounts. Let's say this is equal to 5% of sales. What else? Estimation of warranty costs. Okay, para sa mga appliances. Entry natin, debit warranty expense, credit estimated warranty liability. Let's say this is 3% of sales. Right? NRV of inventory. So we know class, inventories are measured at LC NRV. So pag bumaba yung NRV, we have debit loss on inventory write-down, credit allowance on inventory write-down. And most common natin is for PPE and intangible assets. So for PPE, meron tayong different depreciation methods. So these are examples of estimates: straight line, double declining, and sum of the year's digits. What else? Useful life. For example, ang estimate natin is 5 years useful life. Ano pa? Residual value. Let's say estimate natin 50,000 pesos na residual value. These are examples of accounting estimate. So when we say change in accounting estimate, magbabago yung estimate natin, right? So for budget expense, let's say from 5% of sales naging 2%. For warranty expense, from 3%, let's say naging 4% of sales. For NRV of inventory, pwede siyang bumaba, further impairment loss, or pwede tumaas, gain on reversal on impairment. For the depreciation methods, let's say from straight line, nag-switch tayo to double declining or sum of the year's digits. Useful life from 5 years, nag-change tayo to 10 years. Residual value from 50,000, nag-change tayo to 70,000 pesos. So, ang tawag natin dyan class, changes in accounting estimates. And according to PAS 8, a change in accounting estimate is accounted for currently and prospectively. Currently and prospectively. Sir, ano ibig sabihin yan? Let's have a timeline. January 1, 2025, 2026, 2027, and 2028. So for example, class, nagkaroon tayo ng change in estimate. January 1, 2026. Okay? From straight line method of depreciation, nag-switch tayo to double declining. Yan. So change in accounting estimate yan. Ha? Now, when you say currently, current year. Okay? So that is 2026. So ang effect niyan, currently, the current year, and pag sabi mong prospectively, future years. Okay? Current year and future years. Yun ibig sabihin ng currently and prospectively. Take note class na pag change in accounting estimate, hindi niyan maapektuhan yung prior year. So walang effect yan in 2025. Okay? So basically, ang magiging effect ng change in accounting estimate is P&L. In particular, since depreciation yan, we have depreciation expense. Okay? So yan, that's how you account for change in accounting estimate. Currently and prospectively. Apply muna natin yung class before we move on to change in accounting policy. Let's go to illustrative example number 1. Compute for the depreciation expense. Okay? For illustrative example number 1, we will see later na meron ditong change in depreciation method, useful life, and residual value. Again, ito yung pinaka-common, right? Na change in accounting estimate. Let's read the given. On January 1, 2025, Pinnacle Company acquired equipment for 1 million. This is the cost of the equipment, 1 million pesos. The equipment will be depreciated using the straight line method over 20 years. The estimated residual value is 100,000. In 2030, pag ganyan yung wording sa problem, in 2030, ibig sabihin yung class, January 1, 2030. Okay? Ganun yung interpretation niya dyan. A reassessment of the realization, so basically nag-change from straight line to sum of the year's digits, na bago din yung remaining useful life, 4 years na lang, and residual value, 50,000 pesos. So ano gagawin mo dyan? Tandaan mo class, every time na may change in accounting estimate, meron tayong 2 steps. Okay, remember this. Step number 1, we have to update the carrying amount. Okay, and step number 2, apply new estimates. Tandaan nyo class, kapag meron change in accounting estimate, 2 steps lang tatandaan nyo. Update natin yung carrying amount, and then apply natin yung new estimates. Okay? Tama ba class? Binili natin yung equipment January 1, 2025 and nagkaroon ng change in estimate January 1, 2030. Ilang years yun? From 2025, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. 5 years, tama? So, ang gagawin ko dyan, compute yung carrying amount as of January 1, 2030. Alright? So, meron tayo. Tama ba class? Ang depreciation natin, cost is 1 million, tama? Minus residual value of 100,000. I-divide natin by 20 years and then multiply natin by 5 kasi nga, 5 years yung from 2025 to 2030. So, 1 million. Minus 100,000, divide by 20, so that's 45,000 per year, multiply natin by 5, we get 225,000. This is our accumulated depreciation. Okay, so let's compute the carrying amount. Cost natin is 1 million. Accumulated depreciation is 225,000. Tama ba class? Carrying amount natin as of January 1, 2030 is 1 million minus 225,000, 775,000. Okay, so yun yung first step natin. In-update natin yung carrying amount. And then apply the new estimates. Right? So ano nangyari dito? From straight line, naging sum of the year's digits. Okay, to recall, kapag sum of the year's digits, may formula tayo dyan to compute for the denominator. Right? Nakalagay sa last sentence, 4 years na lang daw. Sum of the year's digits, useful life times useful life plus 1 over 2. Maalala nyo, ganyan yung denominator natin sa sum of the year's digits. Okay? So 4 times 5 divided by 2, makukuha mo dyan class is 10. Alright? So ang gagawin natin, Depreciation expense daw, tama? In 2030, 775,000, the carrying amount, minus natin yung bagong residual value, which is 50,000, right? According to the last sentence. And then, pag sum of the year's digits, ang remaining useful life mo is 4, multiply natin by 4 over 10. Okay? And then next year, 3 over 10, 2 over 10, and 1 over 10. Okay? If you remember, ganun yung ginagawa natin. Now, makukuha mo dyan, 775,000 minus 50,000 times 4 over 10. Sagot natin dito, class, 290,000. Entry natin, December 31, 2030. Debit depreciation expense. Okay? Credit accumulated depreciation for 290,000. Alright, so ganyan ginawa natin. Again, pag may change in accounting estimate, update mo yung carrying amount. Ito ginawa natin. Okay, and then in-apply natin yung new estimates, we get the depreciation expense, 290,000. Kaya P&L yung effect niya. Profit or loss, depreciation expense. Alright, so ganyan lang, pag change in accounting estimate. Now, let's move on to our main problems. Okay, mabilis lang to. Short problems lang yan. So, let's go to main problem number 1. Question for main problem number 1, what should be the depreciation for 2021? Again, ang pinaka-common na question kapag change in accounting estimate is depreciation, right? So, main problem number 1. Okay, Vichil Corporation purchased a machine on January 1, 2018 for 6 million. So, 6 million yung cost, 2018 siya binili, January 1. At the date of acquisition, the machine had a life of 6 years with no salvage value. The machine is being depreciated on a straight-line basis. On January 1, 2021, it determined that the machine had a useful life of 8 years from the date of acquisition. Ingat ka dyan, nakalagay date of acquisition, right? Kanina sa illustrative example number 1 natin, nakalagay remaining useful life of 4 years. Ito hindi. 8 years daw from the date of acquisition, which is January 1, 2018. Tignan natin yung effect later. What amount should be the depreciation for 2021? Apply mo lang yan. Okay, so gagawin ko lang dyan. Let's compute for the carrying amount as of January 1, 2021. Okay? So we have, tama ba, meron tayong cost of 6 million, divide natin by 6 years na useful life. And then, ilang years yan? 2018, okay, so January 2018 binili, tama? 2019, 2020, 2021. Tama ba 3 years yun? Okay, so multiply natin by 3. 6 million divided by 6, so that's 1 million. Okay, times 3. 3 million yung accumulated depreciation natin. Okay, so makukompute na natin yung carrying amount. We have cost of 6 million. Accumulated depreciation of 3 million. Therefore, yung carrying amount natin as of January 1, 2021 is 3 million. And then apply natin yung new estimates. Tama ba, class? Sabi dyan, 8 years daw from the date of acquisition. Huwag mo i-divide by 8 yan. Okay? Nakalipas na yung 3 years, therefore, yung remaining useful life is 5 years. Ingat ka doon ha, kasi sa illustrative example number 1, remaining useful life na yung given. Dito, binigay yung useful life from the date of acquisition. So, kaya ginawa natin, 8 minus 3. Bakit 3? Kasi nakalipas na yung 3 years. Meron tayong 5. So, 3 million divided by 5. Depreciation expense natin. For the year, you get 600,000. Answer for main problem number 1 is letter B or boy, 600,000. Again, take the carrying amount, and then apply the new estimates, we get 600,000. Let's go to main problem number 2. Okay, so let's take a look at the given. Okay, in its financial statements, how much should be reported as the cumulative effect on prior years because of the change in the estimated useful life of the machine? Kapag may estimate, change in estimated useful life, change in estimate yan. Okay, sabi ko kanina, yung prior year, hindi niya maapektuhan. Later, makikita natin sa change in accounting policy, may effect yan sa prior years. Pag change in accounting estimate, wala yan. Okay? So, sagot mo na agad sa number 2 is A. 0 agad yan. Okay? Lagay mo na agad, 0. Pero compute natin kung how much yung depreciation expense moving forward. Pero final answer natin dito is 0. Okay? Let's read the given. LC company bought a machine on January 1, 2022. Okay? 24,000, at which time it had an estimated useful life of 8 years. No salvage value. Straight line depreciation is used for all depreciable assets. On January 1, 2023, the machine's estimated useful life was determined to be only 6 years from the acquisition date. Okay? Hindi yan yung remaining life from the acquisition date. Accordingly, the appropriate accounting change was made in 2023. The income tax rate was 40%. Walang effect yung income tax rate na yan. Okay? So, update natin yung carrying amount. Meron tayong cost na 24,000, useful life of 8 years, and then binili siya 2022. January 1, 2022 to January 1, 2023 is just 1 year. Okay? Multiply natin by 1 year. So, 24,000 divided by 8, that's 3,000. Ito yung accumulated depreciation natin. Tama? So, ibig sabihin, yung updated carrying amount, meron tayong cost of 24,000, accumulated depreciation of 3,000. So, yung carrying amount natin is 21,000. And then, tama ba ka sabi dyan, 6 years daw from the date of acquisition. 6 minus nakalipas na yung 1 year, you get 5. Alright? 21,000 divided by 5. Pag ang tinanong sa'yo, how much yung depreciation expense for the year, you get 21,000 divided by 5, 4,200. Yan yung sagot mo kapag ang tanong is depreciation expense. Pero ang tanong dito, how much daw yung cumulative effect on prior years? 0 na yan. Letter A for main problem number 2. Okay. So, let's go to main problem number 3. Okay. On January 1, tingnan mo natin yung question, what amount should be reported in the balance sheet for the patent, net of accumulated amortization. Ganun din yan. Again, PPE or intangible assets. Ganun lang din siya. Okay? Nag-depreciate ka or nag-amortize ka. So, January 1, 2018, Melanie Company purchased a patent for 714,000. The patent is being amortized over its remaining legal life of 15 years, expiring on January 1, 2030. During 2021, sabi ko kanina, pag sinabing during, ang assumption mo January 1, right? So, nakailang years yan? 2018, 2019, 2020, naka 3 years bago mag-change yung accounting estimate. I-determine that the economic benefits of the patent would not last longer than 10 years from the date of acquisition. What amount should be reported patent net of accumulated amortization. Ganito gagawin ko dyan, class. So, update natin yung carrying amount. Tama ba? Yung amortization natin, we have cost of 714,000. And then, wala namang residual value, divide natin by 15. Tama ba? Nakalipas is 3 years. Alright? Multiply natin by 3. 714,000. Divide by 15 times 3. You get 142,800. Ito yung accumulated amortization natin. Tama? And then, we have yung cost is 714,000. Accumulated amortization of 142,800. Tama ba, class? Yung carrying amount natin as of January 1, 2021 is 714,000 minus 142,800, 571,200. Ayan. And then divide natin by remaining useful life. Tama ba, class? Ang remaining useful life daw is 10 years from the date of acquisition. So 10 years, yung total, hindi yan yung remaining, yan yung total. I-minus mo sa 3, yan yung nakalipas. Therefore, 7 years yung denominator natin. Divide natin by 7, amortization for the year, 571,200 divided by 7, you get 81,600. Right? Pero ang tanong sa ating class is carrying amount, hindi naman amortization expense. Kapag amortization expense, 81,600 na yan. So ito yung carrying amount natin as of January 1, 2021. Okay? So carrying amount natin December 31, 2021. So 571,200 minus na natin yung amortization. Okay? 571,200 minus amortization na 81,600. You get here 489,600. Answer natin, boy, 489,600 is the carrying amount as of December 31, 2021. All right. Next natin, I think last problem na to for change in accounting estimate. Let's go to main problem number 4. Main problem number 4. All right. Let's take a look at the question. What amount should be disclosed in the 2021 financial statements as warranty expense? So again, this is another example of change in accounting estimate. All right. Rolly Company offers a 3-year warranty on its products. If previously the estimated warranty costs to be 2% of sales, right? Due to a technological advance in production at the beginning of 2021, it now believes 1% of sales to be a better estimate of warranty costs. Warranty costs of 80,000 and 96,000 were reported in 2019 and 2020, respectively. Sales for 2021 were 5 million pesos. What amount should be disclosed as warranty expense? So, before 2% of sales. Naging 1% yan. Meron ba tayong pakialam pa dun sa previous years? Wala. Okay, so wala tayong pakialam dun sa 2%. Wala rin tayong pakialam dun sa warranty cost na 80,000 and 96,000. Alright, so simply, the answer here is, sales natin 5 million, multiply natin by 1%, sagot mo dyan, letter A, 50,000. Easy. Okay na. Change in accounting estimate. Again, currently and prospectively. Alright, let's now move on to the next type of accounting change in accounting policy. I'll give you some examples of accounting policies or change in accounting policy. Number 1 is change in inventory method. Okay? Ito yung pinaka-common, right? So let's say from FIFO, nag-change to WAVE or the other way around, from WAVE to FIFO, right? Next, PPE. From cost model, yung entity nag-switch to revaluation model. It's another example of change in accounting policy. What else? For investment property, from cost model, nag-change to fair value model. Ayan. Ano pa? For change in business model. So ano yan? Naalala nyo ba, class, yung sa discussion natin ng investments, yung business model test and cash flow characteristics test? Naalala nyo yan? So for example, hold to collect, nag-switch to hold to collect and sell. Alright? So from amortized cost to FVOCI. Alright? So another example yan ng change in accounting policy. And last one is, sa AFAR natin ito i-discuss, change in recognizing revenues for long-term construction contracts. Again, sa AFAR natin i-discuss yan. So FYI na lang. For example, class, from percentage of completion method, mag-switch tayo to cost recovery method. This is another example of change in accounting policy. Ayan, pinaka-common ito, yung inventory na yan. FIFO to WAVE or WAVE to FIFO. Now, according to PS 8, okay, change in accounting policy is accounted for retrospectively. Okay, retrospectively or also called retroactively. Kamukha lang yung class, ha? Retrospectively or retroactively. For example, nagkaroon tayo ng change in accounting policy on January 1, 2026. Okay? From FIFO, nag-decide tayo, mag-switch tayo to weighted average sa inventory natin. Alright? So, pag sinabi mo retrospectively or retroactively, maapektuhan yan, magre-retroact yan sa prior years. Alright? So, affected pati yung 2025. Okay? So, unlike sa estimate, 2026 onwards tayo. Dito naman, hindi. Kahit 2026 ka nagkaroon ng change in accounting policy, as if sa January 1, 2025, from the start of the operations of the company, it's as if WAVE ka na agad. Ganun siya. So, ang effect mo will be from January 1, 2025 onwards. Ang tawag na dyan, retrospectively. Okay? So, dito class, PNL yung effect. Tama? Change in accounting estimate. Kapag naman change in accounting policy, retained earnings ang effect niyan. Retained earnings beginning. Okay? To recall, kung naalala mo kung diniscuss natin yung retained earnings, nag-T-account tayo dun eh. Right? Nag-T-account tayo sa retained earnings. Diba? Meron tayong beginning balance, and then mag-i-increase na net income, mag-decrease ng dividends, okay, and then plus minus change in accounting policy. Ayan. Sabi ko before, meron tayong separate session which is today. Okay, ayun, may effect siya. Kaya pag change in accounting policy, retained earnings siya. Later, sa correction of errors, meron din tayo yan. Plus minus, prior period errors. Meron din siya effect sa retained earnings natin. You get the ending balance. Okay, so leaving ko class. Change in accounting estimate, currently and prospectively. PNL yan. Change in accounting policy, retroactively. As if waive ka na from January 1, 2025. Bakit ganun, sir, yung provisions ng standards? Kasi class, para ma-avoid yung manipulation ng net income. Okay? Hindi pwedeng, for example, ako yung entity. Sabihin ko, sige, FIFO tayo ngayon kasi mas mataas ang net income pag FIFO. Next year, waive tayo, mas mataas yung net income pag waive. So, para ma-avoid yun, manipulation of net income, sabi ni PAS 8, okay, basta change in accounting policy, as if sa start ng operations, waive ka na. Okay? So, RE, hindi PNL yung magiging effect niya. Sige. So, let's apply the concepts by answering illustrative example number 2. Okay, go to illustrative example number 2. Tingnan natin, class, paano mangyayari kapag may change in accounting policy. For this one, again, pinaka-common is change in inventory policy. Let's read the given. Requirement, compute for the net cumulative effect of the accounting changes in Mr. Accounting Company's beginning retained earnings. Alright? On January 1, 2025, Mr. Accounting Company decided to change from weighted average to FIFO. Inventory balances under each method are as follows. So, anong nangyari dyan, class? Sa illustrative example number 2, may change in accounting policy. Tama ba? From weighted average or average, naging FIFO. Okay? Kailan doon nangyari? January 1, 2025. So, ikakopy ko lang kasi nakalagay sa problem. Papakita ko sa inyo paano magsagot ng ganyan. So, meron tayong average, weighted average, tawagan na siya weighted average, and then FIFO. And then, January 1, December 31. So, ikakopy ko lang yun sa problem. 1 million yung weighted average natin, and then 2 million. Sa FIFO naman, 1.2 million, and then 2.1 million. Okay, so ganyan sa given. Sir, ano yung magiging effect niyan? Tandaan mo to, class. January 1 nagkaroon ng change, tama? From waive to FIFO. Tama ba? Sa December 31, okay na, naka-FIFO ka na. So, wala na tayong problema sa December 31. Ignore mo na yan. Tama na tayo sa December 31. Ang issue natin, kasi January 1 nag-change eh. So, ibig sabihin, naka-reflect na yung FIFO sa December 31. Right? So, from 1 million, magiging 1.2 million. Tama ba, class? Increase ng 200,000 yan. Okay? So, ano yung effect ng increase ng 200,000? Pakita ko sa inyo. Very important. I-apply nyo din yung concepts na to when we answer or when we discuss correction of errors. Dito ko na tayo ilalagay. Siguro kahit dito na lang. Okay, so in computation of cost of goods sold, we have beginning inventory plus purchases. You have cost of goods available for sale. Minus ending inventory, you have cost of goods sold. So alam natin yung class, yun yung basic computation of cost of goods sold. Tandaan mo, kapag yung beginning inventory and purchases, pag tumaas yan, tama ba, class, tataas yung cost of goods sold natin? Tama? So pag tumaas to, tataas yung cost of goods sold. Pag tumaas yung cost of goods sold, bababa yung net income. Does that make sense? So ibig sabihin, class, beginning inventory and purchases, lagi ko lang dito, inversely related dyan to net income. Pag tumaas yung beginning inventory or purchases, pababa yung net income. Does that make sense? Sa formula natin. Okay? So, okay, now, pag tumaas naman yung ending inventory, okay? Minus yan. So, ibig sabihin, bababa yung cost of goods sold natin. Okay? Pag bababa yung cost of goods sold, mataas yung net income. So, masasabi natin, klase, yung ending inventory is directly related to net income. Does that make sense? So, tatandaan mo na lang. Beginning inventory, inversely related to net income. Pag tumaas yung beginning, baba net income. Ending inventory, pag tumaas, taas din net income. Ulitin ko, beginning inventory is inversely related to net income. Ending inventory is directly related to net income. Got it? Okay. Now, yung January 1 na yan, ending inventory last year yan. Tama ba? Ending inventory last year yan. So, ibig sabihin, kailangan natin itaas yan, 200,000, yung inventory natin. Journal entry mo dyan, debit inventory. Okay, actually, merong nakalagay dyan tax rate. Ano? Income tax rate is 30%. Pakita ko muna kapag walang tax rate. Okay? So, without tax rate, ganito yung entry mo dyan. Tataas mo yung inventory, 200,000. Tama? Credit RE beginning. How much? 200,000. Kapag walang tax rate, ha? Ganyan gagawin mo. Sir, bakit debit inventory? Eh, syempre, kailangan mo itaas yung inventory. Asset yan. Sir, bakit credit RE? Kasi ending inventory last year yan. Pag tinaas mo yung ending inventory, itataas mo yung net income. Saan ba napupunta yung net income? Sa RE. O yan. So, kaya 200,000. Pag without tax rate, sa problem, may tax rate. Pag with tax rate, ganito naman yung entry mo dyan. Debit inventory, 200,000. Credit RE beginning. In-net of tax mo yan. 200,000 multiplied by 70%. That's 140,000. Okay, 70% kasi 30% yung tax. Credit income tax payable, which is 200,000 times 30%, 60,000. Kapag without tax rate, walang given na tax rate sa problem, with tax rate. Okay? Inventory asset, syempre walang epekto yan. Hindi naman taxable yung asset. Tama? So, kaya laging 200,000 yan. Ngayon, yung RE, or net income, tama ba yung net income is after tax? Tama? So, income before tax minus income tax, you get net income. Yung net income na yan, which is after tax, yun yung pupunta sa RE. Kaya, yung RE mo yung nababawasan kapag may tax rate. And then, income tax payable, may additional tayong kailangan bayaran na tax. Alright? So, ito yung entry natin. For illustrative example number 2. Let's go to illustrative example number 3. Okay, so tandaan nyo to, class, ha? Very important to. Ibabox ko para hindi natin ma-erase later. Kasi, i-apply din natin yan sa correction of errors. Let's go to illustrative example number 3. Okay? On January 1, 2025, BSA company changed the inventory cost flow method to weighted average from FIFO. So from FIFO, naging weighted average. Okay? For both financial statements and income tax reporting purposes, the change resulted in a 600,000 increase in beginning inventory. Debit inventory. I-debit natin yung inventory. Tapos sabi, wala naman tax rate na binigay sa atin. Okay? Debit inventory. Kailangan doon natin itaas. Siyempre, credit natin yung retained earnings beginning. Bakit ka ulit mag-credit ng RE? Because ending inventory last year yung beginning mo. Tama? Pag tinaas mo yung ending last year, tataas yung net income, tataas yung RE. So, debit inventory, credit RE beginning, 600,000. Ito yung journal entry mo, January 1, 2025. So, therefore, answer for me, ito sa example number 3 is DOG. Statement of retained earnings, 600,000 credit adjustment. Kaya credit mo siya. Okay? To the beginning balance. Kaya dito, plus minus. Kasi pwede kang mag-credit RE or pwedeng debit RE. Okay? Depende kung decrease or increase yung inventory natin. Okay? So, that's for illustrative example number 3. Now, let's move on to main problem number 5. Okay, papakita ko sa inyo class kung paano mag-solve. Kasi marami na dito sa ganitong type of problem. No? Pakita ko sa inyo paano. Dito nagkaroon din ng change in inventory, no? Policy, pero 3 years yung given. Okay, pakita ko sa inyo paano gawin yan. Okay, so question for main problem number 5. What amount before income taxes should be reported in the 2021 statement of retained earnings as the cumulative effect on the change in accounting policy? Okay, Ralph has used the FIFO method since it began operations in 2018. It decided to change to the weighted average. So from FIFO, nag-change to weighted average. Alright? For determining inventory costs at the beginning of 2021. Okay? The following schedule shows year-end inventory balances under the FIFO and weighted average. So, ikakopy ko muna class. So, sa problem, meron tayong FIFO and then meron tayong weighted average. Okay? 2018, 2019, and 2020. So, meron tayong 3 years. 4.5 million, sulat ko lang, 7.8 million, 8.3 million, and then 5.4 million, we have 7.1 million and 7.8 million. Tama ba class? Compute mo natin yung increase or decrease niya. So, from 5.4 naging weighted average, 4.5 naging 5.4. Tama ba class? Increase na 900,000 yan. Tama lang? 7.8 naging 7.1, ibababa natin siya ng 700,000. 8.3 naging 7.8, ibaba natin siya ng 500,000. Okay? Now, sir, paano yung effect niyan dun sa retained earnings beginning natin? So, ganito gagawin mo dyan class. 2018, pakita ko sa inyo yung net income effect niyan. 2018, 2019, and 2020. Doon muna tayo sa 2018 kasi retroactive or retrospective, meaning prior years affected din yan. So, sa 2018, ang gagawin ko dyan class, tama ba year-end daw to? So, ending inventory to ng 2018. Tama ba? So, kailangan itaas natin yung 900,000. Sabi ni sir kanina, pag tinaas mo yung ending inventory, directly related sa net income yan, which is may effect sa RE. Okay, tama ba class? Plus 900,000 tayo dito sa net income. Tama lang kasi directly related yung ending inventory and net income. Okay? Pero, ang mangyayari dyan class, yung ending inventory mo sa 2018, yun din yung beginning inventory mo sa 2019. So, kailangan natin itaas din yung beginning inventory natin in 2019. Pag tinaas mo yung beginning inventory, bababa yung net income natin. So, meron kang plus 900 dito, meron kang minus 900. Kuha niyo ba yan? Isa pa, 2019 naman, kailangan natin ibaba ng 700,000. So, yung yung ending, bababa natin, minus 700,000. Pero yung ending inventory na yan, iyan yung beginning inventory sa 2020. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, kailangan din natin ibaba yung beginning inventory. Pag binaba mo yung beginning, tataas yung net income. So, meron tayong plus 700,000. And last, 2020, kailangan natin ibaba yung 500,000. So, minus 500,000. Right? So, kung mapapansin nyo class, nag-offset lang to. Zero lang yan. Okay? Zero. Pinakita ko lang sa inyo. Ang effect lang talaga to RE is 500,000. Nakuha niyan, kailangan nating ibaba na 500,000. That's why answer dito for main problem number 5 is letter A, 500,000 decrease. Okay? Pinakita ko lang class na yung prior years, in this case 2018, 2019, nag-o-offset siya. Okay? Kasi yung effect sa ending, meron ding effect sa beginning. Effect sa ending, may effect din sa beginning. Effect sa ending, yun lang ang tanong sa atin. Okay? So 500,000 lang. Therefore, A yung sagot natin. So actually, kahit i-ignore mo na itong dalawa na to, ang tingnan mo na lang ito, yung last year. Kapag magsasagot ka ng change in accounting policy. Take note of that, pinakita ko lang to. Pero pag ganyan yung problem, tingnan mo na lang yung last year. Kailangan daw natin ibaba yung ending inventory. O yun. So entry mo dyan actually, debit RE beginning, credit inventory. Okay? 500,000. Ganito yung entry mo. That's why 500,000 decrease in your RE letter A. Let's go to main problem number 6. Dito natin ilagay. Main problem number 6. Okay, so the cumulative effect, let's go to the question. Effect of this accounting change should be reported in the 2021. Okay, so this is the given. On January 1, 2021, GN Construction Company changed to the percentage of completion from cost recovery. The example natin kanina. Again, sa AFAR natin i-discuss yan. So, basta alam natin na change in accounting policy yan. As of December 31, it compiled data showing that net income under cost recovery aggregated 7 million. If the percentage of completion had been used, the accumulated income through December 31 would have been 9 million. Tama ba? From cost recovery, CR na lang, to percentage of completion. So, ibig sabihin, from 7 million, magiging 9 million daw yung net income, which is basically may effects sa retained earnings. Okay, income tax rate is 30%. The cumulative effect of this accounting change, tama ba class, mag-increase ka ng 2 million. Alright, pero let's assume na before tax pa to. Nakalagay dyan, okay, income under, okay, so let's assume na before tax yan. No? So, increase na 2 million, pero alam natin class, kapag effects sa RE, lagi net of tax. Tama? Multiply natin by 70%. Mag-increase daw from 7 million to 9 million. Therefore, sagot mo dito, 1.4 million credit adjustment to retained earnings. So, tataas yung net income, kailangan mo i-credit yung RE. So, letter C, retained earnings statement as a 1.4 million credit adjustment to the beginning balance. Okay. Sige, so that's for main problem number 6. So I think tapos na tayo sa mga problems. Let's go to the related theory questions. Okay, theory number 1. Accounting policies are, okay, accounting policies, yung mga examples natin, actually definition niya sa PS8, punta ka sa DOG. Okay, specific principles, bases, conventions, rules, and practices adopted by an enterprise in preparing, presenting financial statements. Yun yung definition of accounting policy under PS8. Okay. Number 2, changes in accounting policy are, let's read the choices. A, required for all material transactions? No. Boy yung sagot dyan. Permitted if the change will result in a more reliable and more relevant presentation of financial statements. Again, ang objective natin in financial reporting is to provide reliable and relevant financial information to the users. Okay. Boy for number 2. Tingnan natin ibang choices. Letter C, required if an alternate accounting policy gives rise to a material change in assets. D, permitted if the entity encounters new transactions, events. Boy yung best answer dito. Number 3, FYI na lang to, no? FYI, based to sa PS8. PS8 addresses changes of accounting policy arising from 3 sources. Number 1, the initial, kailan daw natin i-apply yung change in accounting policy? Number 1, the initial application, including early application of PFRS, containing specific transitional provisions. Underline yung specific transitional provisions. Kapag may naka-specify dun kung paano mo i-apply, okay, yung standards, follow mo yun. Alright? So, hindi ka pwedeng mag-change in accounting policy kapag initial pa lang. Okay? So, mali yung 1. Number 2 and number 3 yung sagot diyang class. Number 2, the initial application which does not contain specific transitional provisions. So, walang nakalagay sa standards kung paano mo i-apply. Okay? Yung initial application of the standards, ayun, that's the time na pwede ka mag-change in accounting policy. And number 3, voluntary change in accounting policy. For number 3 class, letter C yung sagot natin. 2 and 3. FYI na lang ha. Galing yan sa PSA. Number 4, changes in accounting policy are reported, ayun, retrospectively or also called retroactively. Boy, on a retrospective basis. So, alam natin, pag retrospective, RE beginning yung effect niyan. Number 5, a change in accounting policy requires that cumulative effect on the change or prior year be shown as an adjustment to, kasabi ko lang, letter C tayo, beginning retained earnings, okay, for the earliest period presented. Okay, so RE beginning tayo. Which of the following is accounted for as a change in accounting policy? A, change in estimate of useful life. Hindi. Change in accounting estimate yan. B, change in the inventory valuation. Yes, again, pinaka-common yan. FIFO to WAVE, WAVE to FIFO, change in accounting policy. And boy for number 6. Tingnan natin ibang choices. C, a change from cash basis to accrual basis. Actually, mali yan, no? Kasi cash basis hindi yan acceptable sa standards. Dog, a change from expensing immaterial to deferring. Hindi yan. Boy, sagot natin. Number 7, which of the following is not a retrospective type accounting change? So, alin daw dito yung change in accounting estimate, basically. Okay? Kasi prospective. Okay? Hindi daw retrospective, ibig sabihin prospective. A, sum the year stages to straight line. Yes, tama yun. Pag depreciation method, nag-change ka, change in accounting estimate yan. So, A na yung 7 natin. Tingnan natin ibang choices. B, cost recovery method to FIFO for inventory valuation. Technically, mali yan, no? Kasi wala naman tayong cost recovery method sa inventory, no? Pero best answer pa rin yung letter A. Pero technically, mali din yung boy. Letter C, full cost method to successful effort method in the extractive industry. Dog cost recovery method to percentage of completion. Lahat yan, change in accounting policy. Yung A, yung change in accounting estimate. That's why for 7, A yung sagot natin. Number 8, an entity is required to prepare a third statement of financial position at the beginning of the earliest comparative period when the entity, okay, so FYI na lang to class, ganito nangyayari dyan. Kapag meron change in accounting policy, tandaan mo, kailangan nating mag-restate ng financial statements. So, lalagay ko dito, restate financial statements. Okay, so paano tayo nagre-restate? So, ganito yung class. For example, 2024, 2025, and 2026. Let's say, nagkaroon tayong change in accounting policy 2026. Okay? Di ba? Usually, ang piniprepare lang natin na comparative, 2 years lang. Dalawa lang na yan. Except kapag may change in accounting policy. Kailangan kang mag-prepare ng earliest comparative period, yun yung tawag dyan. Okay? For the statement of financial position. Statement of financial position, statement of financial position, and statement of financial position. Usually 3 years yan. Okay? Tingnan natin yung question. An entity is required to prepare a third statement of financial position at the beginning of the earliest comparative period. Ito yung beginning of the earliest comparative period, 2024. When an entity applies an accounting policy, reclassifies items, make a retrospective statements, true lahat yan. Okay? Dog for number 8. Okay? Pero class yung statement of comprehensive income, okay, ano pa iba? Statement of cash flows and statement of changes in equity. 2 years na lagyan. Kahit meron kang change in accounting policy. Okay? Pag magre-restate ka ng FS, 2 years pa rin yung tatlo na yan. 2025, 2026. Yung statement of financial position lang, yung earliest comparative period, which is the 3rd year. Right? Number 9, according to IS 8, applying a new accounting policy to transactions as if the policy had always been applied. Retrospective application. Retrospective. Letter D for number 9. Number 10, an adjustment to the carrying amount of an asset or liability or the amount of the periodic consumption of an asset that results from the assessment of the present status or current status, okay, and expected future, pag future, prospective, okay. Tawag natin dyan class, letter C, change in accounting estimate for number 10. Number 11, under IFRS, a change in accounting estimate is accounted for, okay, current and prospectively. Okay, actually, pwede rin yung C, currently in the financial statements, letter D, prospectively in the period of change and future periods. So best answer is dog, no? Kasi nakalagay dyan, prospectively in the period of change, yung current year and future periods. Okay? So best answer is letter D for number 11. Number 12, which of the following changes would be accounted for prospectively? Alin daw dito yung change in accounting estimate? A, correction of errors, and then later makikita natin yung correction of errors. Retrospectively yan. Okay? So RE din yung effect niyan. B, change in expected useful life. Yes, boy na tayo for number 12. Number 13, letter C, first time presentation of consolidated FS changing from FIFO to WAVE, retrospective yung dog, no? Change in accounting policy yan. Number 13, when it is difficult to distinguish between a change in accounting estimate and change in accounting policy. So, pag hindi natin alam class, ano ba yung change na yan? Estimate ba yan or policy? Ang magiging interpretation natin according to PAS 8 is change in accounting estimate. Okay? Boy, treat that entire change as a change in accounting estimate. Kasi class, kapag mas mahirap kasi i-apply yung change in accounting policy kasi meron siyang effect sa previous years. Magre-restate pa tayo ng financial statements. So para mas madali sa atin, sa pag-prepare ng FS, if it's difficult to distinguish change in accounting estimate or policy, ang assumption natin change in accounting estimate yan. Alright, so that's for number 13. Okay, let's continue your discussion. Let's now move on to correction of errors. Again, this topic is still under PAS 8. And PAS 8 covers prior period errors. Or ito yung mga errors na na-commit natin from the previous years. Right? So for example, class, current year natin is 2026. When you say prior period errors, these are the errors na na-discover natin in 2026 related to the previous years, 2023, 24, and 25. Okay, so what is the accounting treatment for prior period errors? Actually, same lang siya as change in accounting policy, wherein the effect is retrospective or retroactive. Meron siyang effect dun sa previous years. Right? And same as change in accounting policy, lahat ng prior period errors, i-charge natin siya to retained earnings beginning. Now, we have two types of errors, counterbalancing errors and non-counterbalancing errors. When you say counterbalancing errors, these are the errors that autocorrect after 2 years. Okay? Self-correcting siya. Okay? Counterbalancing errors, these are the errors na nagiging correct after 2 years. Right? And obviously, pag sabing non-counterbalancing, hindi siya nag-auto-correct. Okay? Doon mo tayo sa counterbalancing. Examples are accruals, deferrals, prepayments, and lahat ng inventory-related transactions such as purchase and sale. Alright? So, ulitin ko class, examples of counterbalancing, accruals, deferrals, prepayments, and purchase or sale of inventory. Okay? Now, papakita ko sa inyo bakit siya counterbalancing. I'll give you an illustration. Let's say class, i-compare natin 2025 and 2026. Ayan. Now, on December 31, nakalimutan natin mag-accrue ng salaries. Okay? So, let's say December 31, dapat ang entry natin, debit salaries expense, credit salaries payable, 50,000. Alright, so December 31, 2025, dapat may entry tayo na debit salaries expense, credit salaries payable, 50,000. Di ba yung accrual example siya ng counterbalancing? Tama? Now, since nakalimutan natin mag-journalize, yung net income natin in 2025 will be, ano yan, over or understated. Well, nakalimutan natin mag-record na expense, ibig sabihin, overstated yung net income natin. Does that make sense? Now, ang nangyari dyan class, since hindi nakapag-record yung 2025, 2026 nag-record yung entity, debit salaries expense, credit cash, nung binayaran ng employees, 50,000. Now, nag-record ng expense in 2026, dapat hindi. Ibig sabihin, yung net income natin is understated. So, ano yung effect niyan? Net effect to our retained earnings. Over yung net income in 2025, 2026, understated. Therefore, ang net effect to our retained earnings is 0. Kaya sabi dyan, counterbalancing errors. Okay, tatandaan mo lang lagi class. Basta related sa apat na yan. Accruals, deferrals, prepayments, and inventory, counterbalancing errors yan. Alright? So later, i-apply natin sa handouts natin. Let's go to non-counterbalancing. Actually, examples nito. Again, pag sabi non-counterbalancing, hindi siya nag-auto-correct after 2 years. Okay? So, examples are, number 1 is omission of journal entry. Nakalimutan natin mag-journalize. Okay? And number 2 is incorrect classification. Okay? So, for example, class, dumunod tayo sa omission of journal entry. Let's say, 2025, dapat meron tayong entry na debit depreciation expense, credit accumulated depreciation. For example, 20,000 pesos. Nakalimutan natin, na-omit natin siya. Now, in 2026, hindi siya mag-auto-correct. Mali pa rin siya. Okay? Mali pa rin yung retained earnings natin. Unlike kanina, mag-auto-correct siya in 2026. Ito, hindi siya mag-auto-correct. Okay? Another example is incorrect classification. For example, bumili tayo ng equipment worth 50,000. Pero instead na i-record natin siya as equipment, ni-record natin as repairs expense. Debit repairs expense, credit cash, 50,000. Pero ang dapat, debit equipment, credit cash, and then i-depreciate natin. Alright? So, incorrect classification. So, since chinarge mo sa expense, dapat equipment, hindi mag-auto-correct yan. Ang tawag natin dyan, non-counterbalancing errors. Okay? So, yung magiging focus class, ang pasagutin natin is to compute for the correct net income and retained earnings. Yung journal entries, actually, i-discuss natin siya extensively sa audit practice. Okay? Sa FAR, tuturuan ko lang ng techniques kung paano mag-compute ng correct net income and correct retained earnings. Alright? So, let's go to our illustrative examples. Illustrative example number 4. Illustrative example number 4. Alright? Requirement is compute for the correct net income and correct retained earnings in 2024 and 2025. Sige, let's read the given. ABC Company reported net income of 1 million and 2 million in 2024 and 2025 respectively. So basically, ito yung unadjusted net income. So lagyan agad natin So yung requirement A is net income. Tama? So lagyan natin 2024 and 2025. So lagyan natin unadjusted net income. Sabi dyan, 2024 is 1 million, 2025 is 2 million. Okay? In 2026, the following prior period errors were discovered. The inventory on December 31, 2024, dito, okay, was understated by 50,000. So to recall, sabi ko very important yung binax ko kanina. Okay? Beginning inventory is inversely related to net income. Pag tumaas yung beginning, bababa yung net income. Ending inventory is directly related to net income. Pag tumaas yung ending, tataas yung net income. Alright? So sabi dito class, the inventory on December 31 was understated. I-correct natin yan. Tama? So mababa daw yung ending inventory, kailangan titaas. So pa-plus tayo dyan. Lagi ko dito, adjustment natin. First adjustment is plus 50,000. Kaya lang, yung ending inventory na yan, beginning inventory next year. Tama? So, ibig sabihin, understated yung beginning, understated yung cost of goods sold, mataas yung net income. So, kailangan nung mag-minus 50,000 dyan. Alright? So, tandaan mo lang class, para hindi na mahirap mag-analyze. Basta related sa apat na yan. Di ba? Inventory yan. Tama? Lagi kang may mirror adjustment. Ano yung mirror adjustment? Pag nag-plus ka dito, magma-minus ka sa next year. Okay? Yun yung nature ng counterbalancing error. Okay? Ulitin ko class, pag related sa accruals, deferrals, prepayments, sa inventory, pag may adjustment ka sa current or sa first year, imi-mirror mo siya sa second year. Bakit ulit tayo nag-plus 50,000? Kasi understated yung ending. Alam natin, related sa net income yan, therefore, understated yung net income. Kailangan mag-plus tayo. Kung understated yung ending, understated yung beginning. Okay? Pag understated yung beginning, understated cost of goods sold, mataas yung net income. O, i-minus mo yan. Pero para hindi na ako masyado mag-isip, ito na lang i-analyze ko, and then i-mirror ko siya na different yung sign. Kung positive to, negative to. Kung negative to, positive to. Gets? Okay. Let's go to letter B. Equipment with an acquisition cost of 300,000 was erroneously charged as expense, so incorrect classification. Okay? In-expense, pero dapat i-capitalize sa equipment in 2024. So, ang ginawa dyan, yung 300,000, in-expense siya, tama? The equipment has an estimated life of 5 years. So, 300,000 divided by 5 years, dapat may depreciation tayo na 60,000. Obviously, hindi nakapag-depreciate kasi nga in-expense agad. Okay, so, tingnan natin ano yung magiging effect. Ang gagawin ko dyan, class, 2024 nangyari yan, di ba? Add back ko muna yung 300. Right? Dapat hindi mo in-expense yan. Okay? And then, i-depreciate ko siya. How much ulit per year? 60,000. So, 60,000, 2024, 60,000 in 2025. Okay, so, yun yung adjustment ko. Therefore, yung adjusted net income natin, let's compute. For 2024, 1 million plus 50,000 plus 300,000 minus 60,000. You get here, 1 million plus 50,000 plus 300,000 minus 60,000. Nakuha ko dito class, 1,290,000. This is the adjusted net income in 2024. 2025, 2 million minus 50,000 minus 60,000. You get 1,890,000. Alright, so these are your adjusted net income. Pinapa-compute din tayo class yung adjusted retained earnings natin. So meron tayong unadjusted retained earnings. Nakalagay dyan sa second paragraph, then adjusted balances of RE, 2.2 million and 4.2 million. Lagyan natin 2.2 million in 2024. Okay? And then, in 2025, meron tayong 4.2 million. So, paano natin i-adjust yung retained earnings na yan? Well, alam natin class na related, connected yung net income to retained earnings. Okay? So, yung adjustments mo dyan, how much yung net adjustments natin? 50,000 plus 300, that's 350, minus 60, that's 290,000. Na positive. Tama? Ito naman, nag-negative 110. 50 plus 60, negative 110,000. So, ang gagawin ko dyan, class, to compute for the adjusted retained earnings, syempre, mag-plus 290,000 ako dyan. Right? Kasi yung naka-reflect na net income sa 2.2 million is the 1 million. Right? Pero dapat 1,290. So, ibig sabihin, mag-plus 290,000 tayo dyan. Therefore, makukuha mo dyan na adjusted retained earnings, 2,492. Okay, so this is 2.2, 2,490,000. Nakuha niyo yan? Pero take note class, nung nag-plus 290,000 tayo sa 2.2 million, hindi automatic na nakorek yung 4.2 million natin. Tama? At naka-reflect pa rin sa 4.2 million is the 1 million and 2 million. So, kailangan mag-plus 290,000 ka ulit yan. Does that make sense? And then, kailangan mag-minus 110,000 ka dyan. Alright? So, makuha mo dyan, adjusted retained earnings, 4.2 million, plus 290, minus 110, you get 4,380,000. So, ulitin ko class. Paano ko nakuha yung adjusted retained earnings? Ito yung unadjusted natin. Yung adjustment sa net income, yun din yung adjustment mo sa RE. Kasi ang naka-reflect sa 2.2 million is the 1 million. Mali yun. Dapat 1,290. Paano magiging 1,290 yung 1 million plus 290, which is the net adjustment. Pero take note, nung nag-plus 290 ka sa 2.2 million, obviously, hindi nasama yan dito. Kaya i-mirror mo siya. Mag-plus 290 ka doon. And then yung negative 110, consider mo rin yan sa current year or sa 2025, yun, you get the adjusted retained earnings. Okay? So, practice pa tayo, class. Let's go to illustrative example number 5. Master nyo din yan. So, practice tayo. Illustrative example number 5, ganun pa rin. Requirements natin, compute for the correct net income in 2024 and 2024 and 2025 as well as the retained earnings. Okay, XYZ company reported net income of 400,000 and 600,000 in 2024 and 2025. So, lagyan natin yan. 2024, 2025, lagyan natin unadjusted net income amounting to 400,000 and 600,000. Okay? Let's go to letter A. Prepaid supplies in 2024 were overstated by 20,000. Di ba prepaid supplies, asset yan. Tama? Overstated. So, ibig sabihin, kulang yung supplies expense natin. Right? So, example yan ng prepayment. So basta ganyan, again, may mirror effect yan. So again, sobra daw yung asset, ibig sabihin, understated yung expense. So mag-minus 20,000 tayo dyan. Pero since kasama siya sa counterbalancing errors natin, dapat may mirror effect. Opposite lagi yung sign, plus 20,000. Gets? Okay. So mas mabilis mag-analyze pag ganun. Letter B, accrued salaries, accruals. Okay, payable were understated. So kulang yung salaries expense natin. Ibig sabihin, kung minus 40,000 ako, i-reflect ko din siya sa next year plus 40,000. Let's go to letter C. Repairs and maintenance expense amounting to 100,000 were erroneously capitalized and being depreciated. Kinapitalized pero dapat hindi. Okay, yung gagawin ko dyan, 100,000 expense ko na agad in 2024. Alright? Dinepreciate niya. 100,000 divided by 4. Tama ba nag-depreciate siya ng 25,000 per year? Dapat hindi. Add ba ko yan? Plus 25,000 plus 25,000. Again, yung mga journal entries, auditing practice natin sasagutan. For this one, yung technique lang natin sa compute for adjusted net income and retained earnings. Let's compute for adjusted net income. 400,000 minus 20,000 minus 40 minus 100 plus 25,000. Your answer is 265,000. Alright, so let's go to 2025. 600,000 plus 20,000 plus 40,000 plus 25,000. Answer is 685,000. These are your adjusted net income. Doon naman tayo sa retained earnings. Unadjusted retained earnings, sabi sa problem, second paragraph, 1.6 million in 2024 and 2.2 million in 2025. Now, ang na-reflect sa 1.6 million na yan is the 400,000. Tama? Dapat 265,000, which is yung net adjustment dyan. So, how much ba yung net adjustment? 20,000 plus 40 plus 100 minus 25. So, dapat may minus 135,000 tayo dyan. Tama? So, minus 135,000. Therefore, adjusted retained earnings natin for 2024, 1.6 million minus 135,000, you have 1,465,000. 1,465,000. Now, duman tayo sa 2025. Again, 135 ka lang. I-reflect mo din yan sa 2025. Minus 135,000. And then, yung net adjustment natin for 2025, 20,000 plus 40, that's 60. Plus 25, that's 85,000. So, plus 85,000. Plus 85,000 tayo in 2025. Let's compute for the adjusted retained earnings, 2.2 million minus 135,000 plus 85,000. You get 2,150,000. These are your adjusted retained earnings. Okay. So, ganun lang. Practice pa tayo. So, let's go to illustrative example number 6. I think ito na yung last illustrative example natin for correction of errors. Number 6, magpakita ko ng basic journal entries lang. Again, yung extensive na journal entries ng auditing practice natin, hindi discuss yan. For far, ang concern lang natin is kung paano mag-compute, okay, ng adjusted net income and retained earnings requirements. Determine the correct net income for 2024 and 2025 and prepare adjusting entries. Dito natin lagay yung entries. Okay, and then lagay natin dito class yung net income. Lagyan mo natin an adjusted net income for 2024 and 2025 and then kukumpute natin yung adjusted. Sige, so let's read the given. The EF company reported net income for 2024, 4 million and 2025, 5 million. So lagyan natin 4 million and 5 million. Okay, an audit revealed certain errors. A collection of 100,000 from a customer was received on December 29 but not recorded until January 4. So ibig sabihin, December 31 entries natin for letter A, hindi doon natin na-record yung collection. Debit cash, credit AR, how much? 100,000. Obviously, collection ng AR, wala namang effect sa income statement yan, tama? Parehong asset account yan. Therefore, yung letter A, wala tayong adjustment dyan. Okay, let's go to letter B. Supplier's invoice on account of 160,000 for inventory received in December 2025 was not recorded until January 2026. Inventories were correctly stated. So, nakalimutan natin i-record yung purchases natin. Debit purchases, credit accounts payable, how much dapat? 160,000. Okay? So, letter B, sabi ko kanina, beginning inventory purchases, inversely related to net income yan. Ibig sabihin, overstated yung net income natin. Tama? Kasi nakalimutan natin mag-record ng purchases. Mababa yung cost of goods sold mo, mataas yung net income. So, ibig sabihin, class, for 2025, nangyari yan 2025, mag-minus 160,000 tayo. Alright? Let's go to letter C. Depreciation for 2024 was understated by 90,000. Debit, well, 2024 yan, so prior year, instead of depreciation expense, i-charge mo sa retained earnings yan. Debit RE beginning, credit accumulated depreciation. Alright, kasi pinag-uusapan natin ngayon 2025 eh. 2024 nangyari to. How much yan? 90,000. Alright, so letter C, mag-minus 90,000 tayo. Alright, so net income pa rin naman yung kino-compute mo. So, as if depreciation expense siya. Alright, let's go to letter D. Anyway, again, yung journal entries, huwag nyo masyadong intindihin yan sa auditing practice natin, i-discuss yan. In September, 20,000 invoice for office supplies was charged to purchases. Office supplies are expensed when incurred. Okay? So, dapat, office supplies, pero na-record as purchases. So, gagawin ko dyan, debit, dito natin i-record. Letter D. Okay? So, ang gagawin ko dyan, debit supplies expense, credit purchases. Nagkamali siya kasi ni-record niya as purchases, dapat supplies expense, 20,000. So, paano yung magiging adjustment natin dyan in 2025? Well, nag-record ng purchases, therefore, tumaas yung cost of goods sold, bumaba yung net income. So, kailangan mag-plus 20,000 tayo. Now, nakalimutan mag-record ng supplies expense. Expense, again, magdi-decrease siya ng net income, so minus 20,000. Therefore, class, ang net effect talaga niyan is 0. Okay, kasi parehong supplies, expense, and purchases, parehong may effect sa net income yan. Therefore, pinakita ko lang, pero ang adjustment mo dyan is really 0. Okay? And letter E, sales on account of 300,000 in December were recorded in 2026. Well, kailangan i-record natin yan in December. Debit AR, credit sales, 300,000. Okay? So, adjustment natin for letter E, kailan nangyari yan? 2025 plus 300,000. Let's compute for adjusted net income. For 2024 muna tayo. Okay, 4 million minus 90,000, you get 3910,000. Ayan. And then, adjusted net income natin in 2024, 3910,000. 2025, we have 5 million minus 160,000. Ito, 0 siya, plus 300,000. Answer natin, class, 5,140,000. Final answers natin for adjusted net income. Okay, so yun lang. Now, let's finish our main problems. Okay, let's go to main problem number 7. Main problem number 7, still correction of errors. So, tignan natin. We have 3 questions here. First question, ignoring income tax, what is the total effect of the errors on net income in 2021? Question number 2, what is the net income for 2022? And question number 3, what is the retained earnings on December 31, 2022? Okay, so yun yung mga questions. Let's read the given. Neither company began operations on January 1, 2021. Financial statements for the years 2021 and 2022 contain the following errors. Okay, so bigyan tayo ng errors. Ending inventory, depreciation, insurance expense, and prepaid insurance. In addition, on December 31, a fully depreciated equipment was sold for 100,000 cash, but the sale was not recorded until 2023. Okay, ganito gagawin ko dyan, class. Main problem number 7. So, meron tayong 2021 and 2022. So, ang gagawin mo dyan, class, ang approach natin is to correct the errors. Iko-correct natin yung errors. Right? So, ano ibig sabihin mo dun, sir? Doon muna tayo sa ending inventory. Tama ba, class? Nakalagay dyan, ending inventory is understated by 800,000. So, ibig sabihin, kung directly related sa net income yan, mababa yung ending, mababa net income mo. Kailangan mag-add ba ka dyan? Okay? So, plus 800,000. Sabi ni sir, merong mirror effect yan. Minus 800,000 to next year. Right? Basta, nandito ka sa apat na yan, may mirror effect yan. Right? Doon naman tayo sa 2022, overstated naman by 400,000. So, mataas yung ending, bisa mataas yung net income. Pag-minus 400,000 tayo dyan. Alright, so let's go to next, depreciation. So, nangyari dyan, depreciation is 150,000 understated. So, kulang yung depreciation expense natin, mataas yung net income, overstated. So, kailangan mag-minus tayo, 150,000. Now, wala yan sa apat. Wala dito yan. Therefore, walang mirror yan. Okay, huwag ka mag-adjust sa 2022. Okay, walang mirror adjustment yan. Next is insurance expense. Sabi dyan, class, insurance expense, 50,000 overstated. And then, yung prepaid insurance, 50,000 understated. Sir, ano nangyari dyan? Ganito nangyari dyan, class. On January 1, pwedeng ganito yung nangyari. Yung nirecord ng entity, okay, debit, insurance expense, credit cash, 50,000. Pero, nung December 31, unused pa yung insurance. Hindi nagamit. Alright? So, unused, ibig sabihin, dapat prepaid insurance yan. Dapat may adjusting entry ka, December 31, prepaid insurance, debit, credit insurance expense, 50,000. Nakuha niyo ba, class? So, on January 1, nagbayad ng insurance, yung company. Chinarge yung expense. Kaya nakalagay dyan, overstated yung insurance expense. Pero noong December 31, na-realize natin, hindi pa pala nagagamit yung insurance yan. Dapat prepaid insurance yan. Kaya nakalagay, prepaid insurance understated. Got it? Paano mo i-correct yan? Well, dapat hindi ka nag-insurance expense. Dapat asset account yan. Therefore, yung net income mo dito, since nag-record ka na expense, understated. So, mag-plus 50,000 tayo. Okay, ibig sabihin, na-correct na natin yung dalawa na yan. Got it? Na-correct na natin yung 50,000 over na insurance expense and 50,000 under na prepaid insurance. Got it? Punta tayo sa 2022. Nakita mo dyan nakalagay, insurance expense, 50,000 under. Kasi anong nangyari? 2021 to, di ba? Sa 2022, doon na nagamit yung insurance. So, meron ka dapat entry na debit insurance expense, credit prepaid insurance. Okay? 50,000. Pero hindi yun ni-record ng company kasi nag-record siya ng expense sa 2021. Dapat mag-record ka ng expense in 2022. Therefore, meron tayong minus 50,000 dito. Ayan. Yun yung adjustment natin for insurance. Next. In addition, on December 31, a fully depreciated equipment was sold for 100,000 cash, but the sale was not recorded until 2020. Fully depreciated, binenta mo. Ibig sabihin, gain yan. Tama? So, may gain tayo na hindi na-record in 2022 plus 100,000. Let's compute for, ayan, yung net adjustments. 800,000 minus 150,000 plus 50,000. Sagot mo dyan, class, 700,000 positive. Right? And then, sa 2022 naman, 800,000 negative plus 400 plus 50 minus natin yung 100. Net adjustment natin is 150,000 negative. Alright? So, tingnan natin, class, kung ano yung question. Question number 1. What is the total effect of the errors on net income for 2021? Ito yung tanong sa atin. Okay? Alam natin, class, pag kinorek natin yung error, kailangan mag-add tayo ng 700,000 sa net income. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, class, yung net income natin is, ano yan? Under or over? Is it understated or overstated? Answer is understated. Kasi, pag understated, kaya nga tayo magpa-plus. Kasi kulang yung net income. Ulitin ko, ang strategy natin, kino-correct natin yung net income. Ang tanong dito, ano daw yung epekto ng errors? Well, because of the errors, yung net income natin understated. Kaya kailangan natin mag-plus ng 700,000. Right? So, letter A yung sagot mo dyan. 700,000 understated. Question number 2. What is the net income for 2022? Ganun din. So, ang adjustment natin to correct the net income, kailangan mag-minus tayo ng 1,150. Ibig sabihin, overstated in the first place yung net income natin. Okay? Answer mo dyan, dog. 1,150,000 overstated. Huwag ka malito ha, kasi ang technique natin, kinorek natin yung net income. Magpa-plus ka kasi understated. Magma-minus ka kasi overstated. Okay? What is the retained earnings on December 31, 2022? Again, kapag retained earnings, yung net effect niyan. So, 1,150,000 minus mo yung 700,000. So, yung net amount niyan na effect sa retained earnings, 450,000. Negative. Therefore, bakit ka magma-minus ng 450,000 sa retained earnings? Because overstated siya. Letter C, 450,000 overstated. Alright? And if you recall, class, sa T account natin sa retained earnings, kaya yung prior period errors, may effect siya sa RE. Gets? Let's go to main problem number 8. Okay, mabilisan to. Sige. What amount, tingnan natin yung question, before tax should it report as a prior period error? That's pretty given. April company failed to accrue warranty cost. Ayun, error yun. 200,000. Nakalimutan mag-accrue. Okay? So, 200,000. In addition, a change from straight line to accelerated depreciation. Meron change in estimate. Hindi prior period error yan. Okay? So, ang prior period error lang dito, yung fail to accrue. Okay? Which is 200,000. Letter A yung sagot natin for main problem number 8. Okay? Again, yung isa, change in accounting estimate. Andun sa atin yung prior period error. Let's go to main problem number 9. Sige. Okay, what adjustments required to restate retained earnings on December 31, 2021? First bullet. Okay. During the year ended December 31, 2021, the following events occurred in relation to diesel company. First bullet, accounting error related to the inventory on December 31, 2020 was discovered. This required a reduction in the carrying amount of inventory. Bababa doon natin yung ending inventory. Tama ba, class? For 2020 and 2021, ang tanong sa atin is December 31, 2021. Tama? Pag kinorek mo yung first bullet na yan, kailangan magbawas daw tayo ng 140. Minus 140, and then, since inventory siya, don't forget, may mirror tayo. Negative yan, kailangan mag-plus ka dyan sa 2021. Ano yung net effect sa retained earnings yan? 0. Right? Bullet number 2, the provision for uncollectible receivables was 150. 250,000 was written off the December 31, 2020 receivables. Oh, well, for this one, provision doubtful accounts, debit budget expense, credit allowance for doubtful accounts. Hindi yan error. Okay? Hindi yan prior period error. So basically, yung bullet 1 lang yung sagot natin. Kaya lang, meron kang mirror. Okay? Nag-autocorrect yan, so may mirror. Therefore, 0 yung effect ng sa retained earnings because nag-autocorrect na siya December 31, 2021. Sagot mo dito, dog 0. Pero pag ang tanong dyan, class, January 1, 2021. For example, what adjustment is required to restate retained earnings as of January 1? Sagot mo dyan, negative 140,000. Yes? Okay. Pero because December 31 yan, nag-auto-correct ka na, 2 years, 2020, 2021, 0 na yung sagot mo dyan. Dog for number 9. Let's go to number 10. Okay, main problem number 10. Sige. What adjustment is required to restate retained earnings? Tingnan natin. Statement of financial position extracts for clean company show the following. Okay, development costs and then meron tayong amortization expense. Okay? The capitalized development costs relate to a single project that commenced in 2019. It has now been discovered that one of the criteria for capitalization has never been met. So, ibig sabihin, class, in short, yung development cost ang ginawa niyang asset. Pero dapat hindi asset yan. Dapat hindi yan intangible asset. Dapat i-expense mo lahat yan. Alright? So, in 2021, December 31, 2021, meron kang asset na development cost, no? 5,840,000. Alright? So, focus ka lang doon sa column na December 31, 2021. And then, meron tayong amortization expense na 1.2 million. Okay? Now, sabi dyan, hindi doon na-meet yung capitalization criteria. Dapat expense lahat yan. Okay? So, dapat yung 5,840, expense lahat yan. Alright? And na-expense mo na yung 1.2 million. So, ano yung difference yan? 5,840 minus 1.2, you have 4,640,000. So, ang kailangan mo pang i-expense, kasi ang dapat ma-expense natin, 5,840. Na-expense mo na yung 1.2 through amortization expense. So, ang kulang pa, kailangan mag-expense ka pa ng 4,640. 1.2 million amortization expense, plus ka pa ng expense sa 4,640 para mag-zero na yung asset natin. Alright? So, sagot mo dito, class, letter C, 4,640,000. In short, dapat walang asset sa books. Okay, lahat yan, expense. Paano magiging expense yan? Well, yung amount, difference yan, i-charge mo pa sa expense. Okay, that's for main problem number 10. Let's go to main problem number 11. Okay, so madali lang. Basta alam mo yung concept na, ito, counterbalancing versus non-counterbalancing. Number 11, how much should the retained earnings be retroactively adjusted on January 1? Okay, so Ridgeline Company, Inc. is a calendar year corporation whose financial statements for 2019 and 2020 included errors are as follows. So, nakalagay dyan, 2019 and then 2020. Alright? Okay, dumunta tayo sa ending inventory. 2019, overstated daw by 30,000. Tama ba, class? Kung overstated yan, overstated yung net income. So, mag-minus tayo dyan. Minus 30, and then, i-mirror natin to 2020 plus 30,000. Okay? And then in 2020, 10,000 understated naman. So, understated yung net income, mag-plus 10,000 tayo dyan. Let's go to depreciation expense. Sabi dyan, 25,000 overstated. So, kung sobra yung depreciation expense natin, mababa yung net income. So, kailangan mag-plus tayo. Plus 25,000. Pero, huwag kang mag-mirror. Kasi wala naman yung depreciation expense dito sa apat na yan. Huwag kang mag-mirror. Next, 8,000 understated. Kung mababa yung depreciation mo by understated, by 8,000, ibig sabihin, mataas yung net income mo. So, kailangan mag-minus tayo. Okay? Minus 8,000. Okay, so tingnan natin class. Tama ba? Nag-offset lang yung 30,000. Wala nang effect sa retained earnings yan. Tama? So, ang may effect lang yung ito. 10,000, 8,000, and 25,000. So, tingnan natin class. 10,000 minus 8,000 plus 25,000. Sagot mo dito, plus 27,000. Letter A, 27,000, increase. Okay? Let's go to main problem number 12. I think 2 items na lang for this topic. Main problem number 12. Ganun lang din. Tingnan natin paano siya sagutan. Okay, if it failed to, basahin mo natin yung original given. Christine Inc. received subscription payments for annual or 1-year subscriptions to its magazine. Prepayments are recorded as revenue when received. So pag na-receive natin yung bayad ng customer, nire-record natin agad as revenue. Amounts received but unearned, pero merong part pala doon na hindi pa natin na-render yung service. So dapat liability yun, okay, unearned. At the end of the last 3 years are shown below. Okay? So for each year daw, 2019, 2020, and 2021, ito daw yung mga unearned. Okay? Pero ang ginawa natin, ni-record natin yan lahat as earned. Okay? It failed to record the unearned revenues in each of the 3 years. The entry needed to correct the error is, well, yung unearned na yan is an example of deferrals. Ganito gagawin ko dyan, class. 2019, 2020, and 2021. Okay? So ang gagawin ko dyan, doon muna ako sa 120,000 2019. Tama ba? Dapat unearned yan. So hindi dapat yan income. Okay? So mag-minus tayo. Minus 120,000. Pero since deferral yan, may mirror tayo to next year. Plus 120,000. Doon naman tayo sa 2020. 150,000 minus 150,000 plus 150,000. Doon naman tayo sa 2021. 176,000 o minus 176,000 yan. Alright? Kasi wala naman 2022 eh. Okay? Dapat may plus to doon. Tama? Pero 2021 lang yung tanong sa atin. So, ang gagawin natin dyan, class, so ibig sabihin, ito, nag-offset na yan sa retained earnings. Okay? So, ang entry daw natin, so December 31, 2021, ano yung entry natin dyan? Well, kailangan natin ibaba, doon muna tayo sa 2020, ibaba natin yung net income natin ng 150,000. Pero last year pa yan, so RE yan, tama? Ibababa mo yung RE, so mag-debit ka. Debit RE beginning, credit revenue from subscriptions. Okay, kasi dapat 2021 mo i-record as revenue yung 150,000 na yan, hindi 2020. How much? 150,000. Okay, so okay na to, yung 150,000 natin. Doon naman tayo sa 176,000. Well, yung 176,000 na yan, current year, na-receive natin sa customer, dapat unearned yan. Pero nirecord natin as earned. So, gagawin ko dyan, debit revenue from subscriptions, credit unearned revenue, 176,000. Ito yung complete entry natin, December 31, 2021. Alin dito yung class? Actually, sagot mo dyan, A. Debit retained earnings, 150. Ito siya. Debit subscription revenues, 26,000. Ito siya. Nag-debit ka ng 176. Nag-credit ka ng 150. Tama ba? Yung net nun is 26,000. Tama. And then, credit unearned revenue na 176,000. So, pag ni-net mo yan, entry na yan. Pag nag-isa mo siya, letter A is sagot natin. For number 12, letter A is our final answer. And last one, number 13. Ito, madali lang to. As a result of the above undetected errors, 2021 income was, so tingnan natin. Mark Company made the following errors in counting its year-end physical inventories. Ito yung mga ending inventory. Lagyan natin 2019, 2020, and 2021. Okay? 60,000 overstatement. Again, ang approach natin, i-correct natin yung errors. Over, because may sobra siya, so mag-minus 60,000 tayo dyan. Since inventory yan, may mirror tayo, plus 60,000. Next, 2020, 108,000 understatement. So mababa naman yung net income natin. Plus 108,000, i-mirror natin, minus 108,000. Next natin is 90,000 overstatement. Okay, so sumobra yung net income, mag-minus 90,000 tayo. And since wala na tayong 2022, so wala ka ng plus dito. Okay, sa 2021 na naman yung tanong sa atin. Okay, pinakita ko lang, pero basically, ang nangyari dyan, sabi dyan, 2021 income. So wala na to. Ito wala na rin kasi retained earnings yan, last year yan. Okay, so yung income, ibig sabihin yung current year lang natin. 108,000 plus 90,000, that is 198,000. Okay, negative. Kailangan bawasan natin yung net income. Bakit yung magbabawas? Because overstated yung net income. Letter boy. Because overstated by 198, okay, kaya tayo nag-minus yan. Okay, letter B, sagot natin for main problem number 13. Okay. I think nasagot na natin lahat. Alright, so let's finish this by answering the remaining theory questions. Let's go to theory number 14. Okay, an example of correction of error in previously issued financial statements is a change. Wala tayo sa choices. Letter A, service life of flat assets. Pag service life, useful life. Hindi, change in estimate yan. Number 2, tax assessment related to prior period. Letter C, from cash basis to accrual. Ayun, sagot. Okay? Kasi yung cash basis, hindi naman accepted yan by the standards. Okay? So pag cash to accrual ka, para siyang prior period error. Right? In letter D naman, from FIFO to average, change in accounting policy naman yan. Let's go to number 15. In which of the following situations should an entity report a prior period adjustment? Tingnan natin. Punta sa letter A. The correction of a mathematical error in the calculation of the prior period's depreciation. Mali yung pag-depreciate natin. Prior period error yan. Yung letter B, letter C, letter D, change in estimated useful life, straight line to double declining, scrapping of asset, so ito, change in estimates naman yan. Okay? Especially yung B and C, change in accounting estimates yan. Yung A, ito yung prior period adjustment. Next, number 16. PS8 provides an entity shall correct material prior period errors retrospectively in the first set of financial statements after the discovery by, punta ka sa DOG, restating the opening balances of asset, liability, and equity for the earliest period presented if the error occurred before the earliest period presented. So, para di ka mahirapan dyan, parang example ko kanina sa change in accounting policy. Okay? So, let's say 2024, 2025, and 2026. Let's say dito tayo na-discover yung error. Okay? Ang ipe-present mo dyan, usually comparative, tama? 3 years. Pero kapag may error, comparative, usually 2 years ang pinaprepare natin. Pero pag may error, 3 years yung statement of financial position natin. Okay? Pero yung statement of comprehensive income, statement of cash flows, and statement of changes in equity, laging 2 years yan, kahit may error. Ang 3 years lang, statement of financial position. Yun yung ibig sabihin ng letter D for number 16. Restate the opening balances of asset, liability, and equity for the earliest period presented, usually yung pangatlong year, okay? Or yung 3rd year before the current year, which is 2024. If the error occurred before the earliest period presented. Number 17. Where a material occurs in the recording process, an adjustment, punta dun sa A, must be made to the prior period comparative balances. Okay? So again, nagre-restate tayo ng financial statements for change in accounting policy and prior period errors. Number 18, a company discovered a 20,000 overstatement of its ending after the financial statements. Okay, so ibig sabihin, overstatement daw yung ending, ibig sabihin, overstated yung net income. Diba? Alam natin yun. So punta ka dun sa letter A. Current assets were overstated because overstated yung ending inventory natin. Net income overstated din. Letter A. Kaya class, very helpful to. Tatandaan nyo to ha. Sa audit practice, i-apply nyo din yan. Let's go to number 19. Which of the following errors would cause an understatement of owner's equity and overstatement of liabilities? Punta ka dun sa C. Failure to record the earned portion of fees received in advance. So anong nangyari dyan class? Nag-advance payment sa si customer, hindi mo na-record yung na-earn mo na. Okay? So anong nangyari dyan? Mababa yung revenue natin. Ibig sabihin, mababa yung retained earnings. Okay, mababa yung equity natin. Alright? And since nung na-receive mo siya, ni-record mo siya as unearned, mataas yung liability natin. Okay, so ang question natin dyan, understatement of owner's equity and overstatement of liabilities. Letter C yung final answer natin for number 19. And number 20, last question. A company using a perpetual inventory system neglected to record a purchase of merchandise. So nakalimutan mag-debit purchases, credit accounts payable. Alright? This merchandise was omitted from the year-end physical count. So, mababa yung ending inventory natin. Okay? Kasi hindi na sama sa count. How will these errors affect assets, liabilities, and stockholders' equity? Well, assets, nakalimutan natin mag-ending inventory, mag-include, therefore, understated yung assets. Next, liabilities, nakalimutan natin mag-credit ng accounts payable, understated din yan. Next natin, stockholders' equity. Actually, class, stockholders' equity and net income, zero yan. Yung net effect yan. Bakit, sir? Nakalimutan mo mag-record ng purchases. Ibig sabihin, ibig sabihin, mataas yung, or mababa yung cost of goods sold natin, right? So, ibig sabihin, overstated yung net income mo dyan. Nakalimutan mo mag-record ng ending inventory. Therefore, understated yung net income. Net effect niyan is zero. Therefore, ang sagot natin, assets, understated, liabilities, understated, stockholders' equity, and net income, net effect niyan is zero, no effect, and no effect. For number 20, final answer natin is letter C. Okay, so that's the end of our discussion for accounting changes and correction of errors.